with Renee.
Yo. We wait all week and all day for more. Saturdays with Renee.
Yes. What's up, world? Welcome back.
Birds, not the birds.
The birds.
Oh,
The
the
birds.
bat, not the birds.
So I don't know. Just quickly, welcome everybody. Saturdays with Renee, episode 66. I don't know what Jared Ball, Renee Johnston. Like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon. I don't know. I've always thought the birds aren't supposed to be here in the winter. So I don't know
Only
if this
some
is,
birds.
If this is
not
only
all
some
birds migrate.
Okay, they don't all leave.
They do not all leave.
Well, the ones that stayed are in these streets this morning,
Having a good old time. It sounds
having a good
like.
old time, and it's not. And they're at the end of their week because we are taping this a day early, so this is not live, everybody. So don't be confused or feel destabilized.
They still gonna be, listen.
Well, if they don't get here right on time, they will be. Yeah.
Right. And then I'm going to be in a car. So I don't know if I'm going to have the internet access that is required in order for me to be participating in the chat like I try to do when we pre-record. So.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to be around.
Whatever. You always say that. You don't like listening to yourself.
I don't like listening to myself. And then right now also, my oldest is home from college. So I feel like we're on this weird kind of vacation. And I'm trying to get as much time as possible because, once catching up with young adults is increasingly difficult.
And I know as she starts to get more comfortable, you're gonna see her less.
Exactly.
That's just what happens.
She's already let me know, and she keeps saying, "Don't enjoy it because I'm about to be out again."
Right.
Know.
Although we're holding mine hostage because she's at USC.
Oh wow.
And they seem to think that things are like, we just gonna restart classes and go back into session. And I'm like, we just gonna act like there's not fires? Okay. All right, that's the plan. Okay. Right. All right. I was like, your ass is staying right here until we have some sense of what exactly is happening. So we've all made the decision that she can't leave yet. She's supposed to leave today, but that's not gonna happen.
No. So listen, real quick. I know we have some special guests this week that we want to get
very
to,
special,
especially because they're not able to stay the entire. I don't think they're able to stay the entire show. But I do quickly, just because I'm trifling. I won't put this on you, but I'm trifling. I want to just remind everybody. I just want to show everybody this. I saw it mentioned on the Majority Report. I kept calling it the Minority Report by accident. Well, I wasn't hating on them. I didn't mean to be hating on it, but I saw it referenced there. I have read the story, and I just want to say that it feels like Michael Podorcer really probably should have shouted out Saturdays with Renee for the heads up on what his conclusion was going to be. But I know that some folks, when they hear Black people, especially Black women, say something, sometimes unconsciously they still need to hear it from the white man to confirm its accuracy. Right. So if you needed confirmation on Renee's analysis of the post-election issue, here's a good white man source for you. We used to call it that back then. You got a good white man source on how Trump won. And just the quick summary, it had not that the country's not racist and sexist and misogynoir and all of that, but that the issue had more to do with what the Democrats did not do than any shift in the country becoming more Trumpian. So he's got a lot of details that
a lot of data.
A lot of details. So I'll put the link in the chat. And as you read through it, just let it, reverberate in the back of your mind that Renee was right. And, make sure you don't miss episodes of Saturdays, because then you could be like, as you read it, you'd be like, oh, Renee told me this already. Okay. But it's got a lot of good detail if you need it.
I love being right. I'm not gonna lie. I love being right. I love being. I do. I get on my husband's last nerve because I'd be like, I tried to tell you. I tried. I tried to tell you.
And I'm on the receiving end of that kind of commentary around these parts often. I tried to tell you. Now, okay, but we can come back to that. Maybe we can even come back to that later.
Yeah, we can come back to it. And let's let our guests on, because this is the exciting part.
So Renee likes being right, and we definitely do not like being wrong. So we want to continue to avoid being wrong. We brought for a discussion of that world this week. We brought in the real experts from Brokeish, Amber and Erica, future Dr. Erica Brown. Amber, good to see you both again. Thank you very much for joining us. Salute to the Brokeish crew, and really. Let me make sure I do this even more properly as I should have from the beginning. So that's my fault. But let me just,
I was like, are we gonna get some burn? I was like,
Oh, she loves the sound effect. Okay.
Amber, I don't know if anybody's ever called us experts before, so
speak for yourself, boo.
Oh. Touche.
I bet they did in private after they left your show. Maybe not publicly, but I bet they did privately, maybe with a few other words in addition. Experts. Something like that.
But thank y'all for having us. It is a great honor to be on the show.
Amen.
Absolutely. Renee, I appreciate your work so much. And it was so thoughtful of you to do your, step-by-step takedown of our least favorite capitalists. So thank you for doing that. But thank you for having us. Exactly.
Can I just tell y'all, was that the day of or the night before? I was like, Jared, he is so wrong about so many things. And I just need you to do a thing that pops up. Wild.
Yeah,
Wild.
He was consistently wrong and is consistently wrong, but it's also just well platformed. And that's a little bit about what we're talking about today. And just for clarification, we talked a little bit before we started recording. Amber and I are on a similar wavelength that I wanted to show a regalness today, since we talk about wealth. And since I don't have any, I went to the far end of my closet and for my little mayor, I think it's a Maori. It's probably some fake bootleg. I just saw it looked pretty, and I wanted to wear it. I wanted to have one, so it just shines. It's all bright and shiny. So, and I know Amber got the King Joffrey on, so it's
I felt I was on the same wavelength. I'm only 2 feet tall, so y'all can't get my full swag, but yes.
So just we wanted to present, and then we wanted to present symbolically, bring the aesthetic to go with the conversation.
There we go.
So
there we go. So
anybody got
full transparency before we start? I just want everyone to be clear that last week you came upon the blacklist on Forbes about who all the rich and most meaningful people are in the Black community. And so I started to skim through the list, and then when I saw a brother on there, John Hope Bryant, I text Jared and I was like, can you please text the Brokeish crew and see if they'll come on? Because on top of just talking about how crazy capitalism is, I just felt like we could not do this without you both. So thank you for making the time to join.
Absolutely.
And when they describe this, that is Forbes, as the Forbes Black Power, Wealth, and Impact 50, the Forbes Black 50. And I do want to, Erica, you mentioned methodology. I do want to, and they do have a methodological section or methodology section at the bottom of this that I did want to talk a little bit about because I think it's interesting. But my initial thought, and I don't know where any of you would want to start, was just that, you know, and I again even thought to title this the thumbnail, how white capital defines Black power, because one of the themes that runs through all of this is that these are like the mascots for all of the white investors that found their little Black project. And then they parade themselves, or are paraded, as having done something almost miraculous and wonderful that is meant to extend, of course, beyond just themselves, but be reflective of what anyone in this society can do, and what is available if they just, you know, get their credit score to 700 and all those other kinds of things. And then many of them, I think, end up speaking against a lot of the interests and ideas that we talk about around here. So anyway, that was my sort of headline as I went through this group.
Well, do we want to start with the methodology since
sure, yeah. I mean,
I feel like that's at the baseline of it all.
At the end down here, they have this section called methodology. And as it reads, to select the inaugural Forbes Black 50, we sought input. And I actually think there's something interesting in the BLK. Like, we're not even really trying to talk, like, it's like trying to be Black without being actually talking about Black. I don't know. We sought input from Goldman Sachs, of course, investment firm Revolution, and public affairs agency Global Strategy Group, and public organizations including the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, Black Innovation Alliance, and Atlanta Black Chambers. We used public nominations, and Forbes Black members and advisors voted on a selection of semifinalists. Among the criteria used to make the final selections were social impact, social media presence, company status, title position, and net worth. Forbes Black used Forbes wealth data to determine the net worth of individuals, as well as public and third-party financial data and insight from financial analysts. So I thought that this is an interesting, so it is beyond just net worth, because as we can talk about, their net worth relative to real wealth is not much. And is, as I was saying, kind of a lot to do with their symbolic reach beyond any actual economic or any other form of power. So,
right. And I think for me that this is like an influential list, right? Like, I almost wish they left that word out, because if you just want to say, like, these are the 50 Black people that we picked that managed to make the most money working in the you know, the areas that we feel like are most impactful for becoming rich, like, okay, cool, like, all right. But once you tack on that influential, then you start talking about whether or not these people are actually having an impact. And they may be having an impact somewhere, but it's most certainly not on the regular ass Black community of working people. Well, not in any positive way based on where some of these folks work. So, you know, just the word influential was really like, why are we doing that?
Who said the word mascot? Because I think that's the perfect word. If we talk about what this list is, these are people who are mascots for Black excellence in capitalism. And if that's what you want to measure, that's fine, but that's not power. That's just what a mascot does. They promote a brand. And I think all of these people on this list are promoting a certain brand of Blackness that benefits whiteness.
And even if we go to even if you look at the methodology and the way they describe it, they talk about the fact that they got input from Goldman Sachs and from an investment firm and from a public affairs agency, right? So these are not the types of places where you would go to that point that you would go to try to figure out, how do we measure people that are actually making a change in the Black community? We're talking about organizations that are specifically aimed at how do we amass capital? And so or how do we talk about the people who are amassing capital? But even more than that, in terms of like just what seems like a small group in this echo chamber, they said they talked to Atlanta Black Chambers. And that seems like a very like niche place to be in terms of looking at this. And probably the thing that pissed me off the most about the methodology is that they had this thing where you can just send in a nomination for somebody. Right now, they did make a rule that you cannot self-nominate, but folks like John Hope Bryant have teams, right? Like the teams that apparently, without his knowledge, reached out to us to be on our show, but they have teams working for them, right? So essentially, people are able to self-nominate to get on this list. So they had pulled down the application, so I wasn't able to see what was on the nomination list. But even when you're talking about things like trying to find people's net worth from these public sources, they're not very reliable. And so in my mind, this is just a bunch of people and their friends nominating themselves for this list. Because if you look at the list, there are quite a few people who also end up in like the earn your leisure space, who I personally saw at InvestFest or who have been on Earn Your Leisure. So it's like this, it's just a black echo chamber of nothingness, essentially.
So
an echo chamber of nothingness. I love that. I love it. Echo chamber.
Wait a minute.
Listen here.
Wait a minute. Where is what?
Find it, man.
What? Where? Stop.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
Oh, sis, you got bars. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Y'all are so unserious.
Is this a 5 mic source review? Is that what you just got?
Exactly.
Did you just say 5 mic?
Wow.
Yes.
So
Look at the youngins confused right now. What's she talking about? 5 mic source.
What is?
I'm surprised, Amber, you know that. You barely know it, Amber.
She probably heard her mother talk about it one day back once upon a time.
You Shirley Caesar don't know nothing about the source. No.
But that's interesting about the whole process of the nomination, because then you really have to start questioning, like, are these people really people who have I mean, I know they're not, but there are people who are reading these lists, right? They go, they see Forbes, they see the list, and they're like, oh, these people are really doing something. And they're not.
Well, no, and then they use it in their promo packages.
That's what I was about to say. This is a sales tool. And I think that's what the danger of this list is that this becomes a cycle whereby people who are on this list get to use this list to create legitimacy for the lies that they monetize to keep themselves on lists like this.
For sure.
And so I feel like we almost need to talk about it in a different way to be clear that this is a marketing pitch. This is not, or nor was it ever intended to be a list about power, because first of all, especially if you're talking about money, don't nobody on this list own any means of production. So we're not really talking about power. We're just talking about people who we know, who we assume have a lot of money. And the point of this list is to say, you know me, you assume I have a lot of money, therefore buy my product. And I think that's what bothers me most about this list, is that it is weaponized against people who don't have $99 to go sit in a course that's not going to give them $99 worth of return. You know, and you're playing on people's emotion that they can be this or do this if they just buy what you're selling. And that's what grinds my gears about it. I mean, listen, I'm a lawyer, so I don't mind a meaningless award. We give them out in my profession all the time. I just don't like that these lists are being used to exploit and prey on people who are already struggling.
For sure. And if we specifically go to John Hope Bryant, our favorite guy, in his section, I said something else was the thing that pissed me off the most. This might have been the thing that pissed me off the most. Operation Hope, which helps make capitalism work for underserved communities. Y'all need to stop lying to people, because when has capitalism worked? And when has it ever worked for underserved community? Or that's what I should say. Capitalism works every day. But when has it ever worked for underserved communities? And Amber, to your point, what happens is he can continue to be out here and promote these things. And look at the latest list I'm on. And it's Forbes, like you said. Exactly. And so now people associate him and other people like him, like how he says, I'm the conscience of capitalism. If you don't go sit down somewhere, but that's exactly the harm. And this feels like a print version of the Breakfast Club. Like people go, right? You get put on this list, you get put on, people see you. And then the next thing, then you get to the next thing, right? Then you can get added to a new list. Then you get more introductions. But one of the criteria to make the list is social media presence. So we are literally now judging power, Black power, off of how big your social media following is. Be so for real.
And again, go ahead.
Just real quick, because this is about him specifically and what I uncovered. His entire profile is based on what he tells people his company does. So when you read that, everything that it quotes as like the information about Operation Hope is coming from Operation Hope. So I am writing a profile and I'm saying, well, according to Renee Johnston, she da 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 da. And according to Renee Johnston, she da da da. Like you can say whatever the hell you want, and it may have nothing to do with the actual reality and the material conditions of what you're doing. And that's what I found that I think was the most disturbing thing about his whole setup, was there is nothing that you can find outside of what he says he does that confirms the things that he says he does. Like it's all smoke and mirrors.
Well, and even if you take what he says he does as truth, what he does is what all the people who sell predatory housing do. They help you fix your credit so you can qualify for the houses they sell or rent. Like he basically has a home buyers club like all the builders. Like I was in one of those programs the first time I tried to buy a house. And so this idea that somebody who talks about how they owned hundreds of rental or investment properties, basically owning a glorified credit repair service, that is an extension of your profit-based business. That is not financial literacy to help benefit somebody. That is you creating a market for the product that you are selling to people.
I don't know where the hand claps, Amber, but exactly.
You know,
I'll find. We can.
Now listen, that's cool.
And then we can move to here.
And I think the only thing that I guess I give him credit for is that because he has a nonprofit, some of these things like we do know, right? Because he has to disclose them to the government. So some things about Operation Hope in terms of how much money revenue they might generate, how many expenses they might have. Some of these things are just disclosed in their financial disclosures that they have to share. But even to this point where in his example, he's talking about, you know, on their road to 1 million Black businesses, 350,000 businesses doing what? And how many of them people that have businesses anyway? And how many of those businesses are still around? And what even is a Black business? So I just, have a lot more questions specifically about him, but specifically about these people that we platform and don't really dig into the details like Renee would.
And just one thing to add from that I wanted to add from this discussion of Bryant himself is that everything, again, the through line from all of these, everything he does here, what everyone on this list seems to have done at one point or another, and is wanting to take some sort of special praise for, which is securing investment from some other larger white-owned corporation. And this is then flipped, especially in discussions with people like the two of you, into I'm a genius, y'all don't know what you're talking about, and capitalism is fine. Why you keep talking about this Black stuff? It's like, so Shopify like finds that they can make money off you, and now everybody else in the Black community is an idiot.
right.
And
Shopify gets $1 million tax deduction because they're giving it to your nonprofit.
Boom.
And then all of a sudden,
And what did he keep saying? the mindset that
It's a mindset.
that every other community had.
The memo. You didn't get the money.
The memo.
You didn't get the
Black
memo.
people didn't get the memo. That's what he kept saying. Black people didn't
But
get
it's
the
not
memo.
Black people. It's Black Americans didn't get the memo.
Black
Because
Americans.
Nigerian Americans got it.
Yes.
And
Black
the Jamaicans
got it.
and the Jamaicans got it.
Well, proof of that is right at the top here, because
I was gonna say he might be right though, because listen, the list says he's right. Listen.
And then this dude who comes from Nigeria is doing like what John Hope Franklin said to do: set up a business.
Bryant, not Franklin.
Damn, I did it again. John Hope Bryant. Rest in power to John Hope Franklin. My apologies. I keep doing that. But this is what John Hope Bryant said to do. This dude started up a fintech business to help people get their credit histories and reports up. So it's to do exactly what the two of you just said. Hey, and I'm going to help you become a better renter.
Oh, I do have a question, not a question, but I am thinking about some of what I would consider to be the more legitimate people on the list, right? Okay. So if I look at, and I can't remember his name, so forgive me, but the man who founded Calendly. So if you search for that, he'll come up.
He's right here.
I use Calendly like every day. And so in terms of just a business that provides actual value, I don't know anything about this man's financials. I don't know how much money he got. I don't know any of that. But I feel like this is an example of somebody that actually has a real business that people can point to, people get value from, but it's all mixed in with all of these other people that don't necessarily do that. So I don't even know.
Erica, no, he got the memo because he's from Nigeria.
He is.
Right.
And
but
he's worth 1.4 billion.
He had to sell it to scale. So I don't think there's anything wrong with putting this out like, look, hey, he invented a great product.
I think he still owns it. It's still owned by him.
I thought he sold Calendly.
It says after bootstrapping the company for several years in 2021, Awatona raised $350 million.
Oh, he took on
investors.
Scale. Okay.
So he took on more investment to scale, which is, of course, what you always have to do.
What you have to do.
Right.
So now I'm with you on that point. So for me, Erica, I'm with you up to that point. Like I don't target this man and say, you are the enemy, you are the problem. That's not, given what I don't know about him, he's not doing the John Hope Bryant thing and preaching it or proselytizing the as far as I know. But it's that he's being promoted as part of the narrative that there is nothing wrong with capitalism, and if you are smart like him. So
I vehemently disagree. He is just listen. Because you allowed yourself to be up on this goddamn list. He said,
I see what you're saying.
He said, go ahead and put my face on here and let's pretend like, this is a thing, right? Because he's now going to be able to get more investors, right? If he needs to go back and he needs to reinvest to do something else, he was able to raise $350 million. He ain't raised $350 million in the Black community, right?
That's probably why I'm not offended for him exploiting this list. He's exploiting white tech guys in California, and they're getting a return on their investment because Calendly is profitable. So that doesn't particularly bother me. I think the problem, though, with people like him on this list is the way they normalize this as a possibility for the everyday Black person.
Right there.
For sure.
I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with, going out to Silicon Valley and trying to get money to scale your business, whatever. But I do think that we need to talk about the ways that this is very exceptional and the ways that this is very much an immigrant story and not a Black story. That the accessibility of this story to me represents the promise for the immigrant, not the promise for the Black American that is here every day.
Right. And even then, it's a promise for a handful of immigrants.
Yes.
It's not even, it's the same thing.
They're
a handful of people.
List.
Well, they're on every single one on this list. Exactly.
But even like if you look at how he cashed in his 401k to find that alone, right? If you're cashing in a 401k to do your startup, you already
had a 401k.
are not. Right. You had a 401k because he had been working for tech firms. And so he had already been in the mix. So for me, I think it's always the same problem, which is if you have a list that says he had a great tech idea and he was able to turn it into something that functions for multiple people and it's a good product and then cool, no problem. But when you start putting him on a list of Black people with wealth and power and influence and impact and all these things, now he becomes something that other people can point to and say, see, this is why y'all are the problem, because he did it. See, he was able to turn, he failed at multiple projects and he was able to bootstrap, whatever bootstrapping means when you start off with a 401k that you're able to cash out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's this idea, this sales idea of, you know, they did it on their own. No, you didn't. You didn't do it on your own. You started out with the capital to be able to probably live and survive while you went forward and found other people who had money to give you money to help you make this thing a real go. It's just, it's not reality.
Look, I had a whole personal crisis this week because I went to my retirement calculator and punched in the numbers this week. And this is what it said to me when I finished putting in my calculation, saying I wanted to retire almost immediately.
They going on some bitch ass TV show gonna make you some kind of hero.
It just popped up and said, nah,
20 more. So 20 more.
At least they were like, man, keep going. You nowhere near. They were like, it looked at my little bit of saying.
20 to life is what they told you.
That's exactly what they said. They said you just yeah, exactly. So I was over here trying to cash in my 401k, and they were like, to start what? A lemonade stand?
Black business.
Yeah,
so
right.
I do have a question about some of the other folks on the list.
Yeah.
Just because I saw him at InvestFest, Don Peebles. He's actually one of the featured people at the top of the article. You'll see his face.
Yep, right here.
But Don Peebles, real estate mogul.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point that everybody was just making in terms of, you know, what kind of a story this is. Is it a Black story? Is it an immigrant story? So let's take Don Peebles as a Black story even, right? So people love, I came up from nothing. I had to, you know, get it in the mud. But one of the things that Don Peebles is open about, and I think it talks about here, is that he got put on by Marion Barry. So in the 80s, he was doing real estate, working for Marion Barry. And, you know, from all the, at least the lore that I've heard and the stories, Mayor Barry was very generous with the community in terms of making sure that people were taken care of, making sure that people had access to resources and helping them to build bridges and so that they could do other things, right? So he works for Marion Barry, and that's how he got his foot into the real estate game. But oftentimes when you hear this story, it's like, you know, again, he just came from nothing and then all of a sudden is a real estate billionaire. And I think the point that we've been making all this morning too is just that it's never what it seems like on the surface. It's never, these people are not self-made. And I think that's okay. I don't know why we have this obsession with people doing everything by themselves when we know that's not possible. But I do think that his story can be, like all the others, especially harmful because it doesn't take into account what the real estate game was like in the 1980s.
Correct.
What it meant to have Marion Barry as a mentor and supporter of your work, and what it means for you to have started all of that 40 years ago.
And land the plane. And that they was doing illegal shit too. Okay.
Right. I'm like, let's not forget. He was not just working for Marion Barry. He was working in his property tax.
In the property tax office. So to go from working in a government job in the property tax office to being on a Forbes list. And if you're parlaying those connections, I'll say it.
I was trying to be coy. I see you.
I know
You ladies are not.
But you got to spell it out. You can't go from working in the city property tax office in the District of Columbia
being a
the
billionaire?
Forbes list, being a billionaire, doing everything above board. So yes, he parlayed those connections, but the reason why they came up is because they wasn't following the rules. But shout out to Marion Barry though. Anyway, because listen, I'm not. In the words of the prophet Whitney Houston, it's not right, but it's okay. So I'm not mad about that part of it.
Prophet Whitney Houston.
but let's just also spell it out.
No, so just to add one more layer, just a little bit.
Okay.
Remember, this is the DC area on top of it, where you have all this relative black money coming from federal government jobs. So that's the other part where people are not doing it by themselves. They have all of that. And then one more is that Mayor Barry himself was a product of the Black liberation movement. He was a SNCC kid. He was empowered. He was pushed into office by a movement. People could debate to what extent he stayed with, certain politics, but that's what got him there. So none of this. And that's been my biggest problem, is that the Black liberation movement and that struggle that produces the room for all of these folks to be given to take advantage of gets suppressed, redefined, omitted, disrespected, punished, and so on and so forth. And then these folks get to be around to basically chastise everybody for not doing what they did. But all of that is well taken. Yeah.
Did you have anybody else, Erica?
Oh, if there's a brief hesitation, I just want to get to this guy real quick because I felt this is my personal.
I was gonna say your cousin was on here. I was like, Jared got a cousin on the list.
Yeah, and because as I was scrolling through the list, I saw his face and I was like, hold up, me, it takes an ambiguous to recognize ambiguous, but I'm over here like who is Alex?
Is he ambiguous?
Well, I was scrolling and I was like, in the immediate scroll, I don't know. To me, he
looks Jewish. I'm saying he looks unambiguously Jewish.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. All right, there it is. But on a list where he's on a black list, okay, yes. Outside of this list, I would agree with you. But on a list said to be black, I'll give him. I would say then I got to raise him to ambiguous because I'm like, how was he? But anyway, yes,
it's giving Plessy. It's giving Plessy.
Yes, absolutely. So, and it's the quintessential mixture. Got the Jewish father and a black mother. That's a little bit of a flip on the stereotype, but that's the foundational interracial combo. But then even worse than that, he does our community dirty by immediately linking up, because he goes to school and becomes a roommate with Peter Thiel. And then, which already said, I'm already judging all of his parents. Like, what kind of parents let you come home with this is your friend and let you come home with like, these is your goals to work for Palantir Technologies and data mining for the FBI and the CIA and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, what's up with your parents? And then, and then use the track. Yeah, go ahead.
And y'all know, like, my whole thing with surveillance and all of these things, like, for folks who don't understand, Palantir is literally at the core of the surveillance happening in Palestine, in Gaza. And he freely and openly and excitedly touts his support for Israel and has made clear that, he's only going to sell his products to the Western allies of the U.S. and Israel. Like, he's really clear on his stance on a lot of things. And so
is he clear on his stance as being black? Because I'm like, outside of this list, does he tell anybody that he's black?
That I don't know. Because
I think when it becomes useful, I'm sure when he wants to tell somebody who's looking to up their what is it, the DEI, what is it that other scale they use, the one that what's his name what's his name from BlackRock said you got to get your score up, your social score, whatever, your social grade has to be upgraded if you want this BlackRock money. So when they need that, I'm sure they'll bring him in he can be the Jew when they need to ramp up the Zionism, and then he can be the black when they need to ramp up the DEI stuff. And
when he's telling people, I have a black mother, so you can't tell me
that's
that
right.
I don't know anything about oppression or difficulty.
Right.
You know,
I got her picture right there up on his desk and everything. Yeah. So yeah,
I don't know.
I was like, how you gonna be the Drake of the financial world? This is just terrible.
But this to me, he was one of the people also on my notable, we need to make sure we talk about this fool list, because like that Forbes has him on this list as impactful, and when he is for every single thing that is about oppressing Black people. Like you can't be deeper into the oppression than being a part of the surveillance state and literally providing the equipment that services the surveillance state. Like I'm gonna be a
gatekeeper. I'm gonna be a Black gatekeeper. I want to know, have you been Black on any other thing, and how do you end up on this list telling people? I want to.
That is a good question, because the first time I saw his picture, Jared's able to fish it out. I did not assume that he had any Blackness in him, so I didn't see
the assumption is that he's on the list. So that's why I was saying like that was really it. That's what I'm saying. If I had just been scrolling through a whatever, I might not have. But
y'all know he's somebody.
But he's also on the Forbes, like the big Forbes list. The billionaire list for Forbes.
Oh,
that's what I was about to say. Yeah. Somebody thought they were.
When I saw that, I was like, wait, he's got Black. He's got what? So, yeah.
Well,
and the fact that they have to put on there that he has a Black. Anyway, when you're ready, I did have one more person that.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah. I thought you were. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, Jared, I'm going to blame you for this person, this next person on the list. I'm going to say that this is your fault. Madam founder of Uncle Nearest.
So, okay. So Fawn Weaver, I have her highlighted here because this is, I need to preempt. I meant to do this earlier. I need to preempt you. We're not going to talk bad about Miss Weaver and all the good that she produces in this world, especially not while I'm literally waiting for the arrival of my new cocktail smoker that will allow me to create an even better version of my honey infused Uncle Nearest old fashioned that I'm now going to make officially smoked by tomorrow. So but try to get her to be still trying to get them to be the first sponsor. No, I'm just playing.
In all seriousness, you remember earlier back in Black Liberation Media's history where you all reached out to them because you were trying to get some sponsorships, and she was like, baby, y'all not on the level that we need y'all to be on to offer sponsorships. And to the point of this link about being about community impact and support and all of that, I just find that interesting that these are the sorts of people that we elevate, but these are the kinds of people also not willing to elevate us, right? Not willing to elevate. And I get it, right? But at the same time, it's like you had an opportunity to highlight Black left-leaning media, and you were like, no, but that's your girl, so I'm gonna be quiet.
Yeah, so I listen. I don't know. I don't have anything to say. You're exactly right. I mean, but other than to say what I would expect for anyone on this list, their goal is to make it to this list, and to do that, you have to curry a certain favor, certain levels of investment. You have to have a certain business ethic. And it's one thing to say, to proudly present as a Black woman and Black owned and this and that, and to be worth 480 million and this, that, and that. But it's another to have any of that be used to lend to or lead to a critique of how Black people are treated. So all jokes aside, I'm not really proud that I enjoy the
So I'm
way
not
that
I'm not really a
All is
whiskey
trash.
drinker. So I'm good to hate on this right here. Because I just want to quietly point out that her and her husband were able to purchase a 300-acre farm for $900,000 because she was previously working in real estate.
right.
So it's back to the same. And I recognized her because she has a little snarky thing on Instagram because Beyonce has whiskey or whatever the thing is. And so she has her, with real whiskey makers, and that's good that they're doing their little thing, but just know we've been here, So
and when we ran the commercial, everybody in the chat noticed how all the people around her were white men on horses.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was like,
so just like I'm like, you have the largest black home, this thing was like in here, it says at least that she has, she's one of the largest black landowners in Tennessee. So she has that. And
with 300 acres, she had to have purchased more. That's so small. Wow.
I mean,
well, she said it's 800 acres with her husband. If that makes it.
No, it's 300. It was 300.
So what does it say here? She has become one of the largest black owners in Tennessee with more than 800 acres shared with her husband.
Not just the farm. It's all the
land. Gotcha. Okay. So they started with the 300.
Wow. Okay.
But also, like, you have that and you're selling alcohol because that's a real benefit to the community. That's
carcinogens. That's problematic. No carcinogens for the community.
Well, and the new, and you saw, like, I did hate to see the new studies coming out saying, basically any amount of alcohol starts to change your DNA and open you up to all kinds of cancers. And
Kim been telling y'all that for years on the morning show. She's been telling y'all cancer's a carcinogen.
Ain't nobody trying to hear that from Kim. Ain't nobody trying. Like I said about white sources, I needed a good white man to tell me that. Stop drinking liquor. I'm not listening to no black woman on the remix morning shows. Get me to stop drinking.
As you wait for your newest honey infused Uncle Nearest.
Oh my God! I'm probably going to finish this one more bottle, and then we're probably going to have to take a retirement. But I do have one fresh bottle left. Fresh. And this smoked old fashioned I've been making, boy, I tell you, it's legendary. But we're gonna have to find a new outlet. Listen, go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was about to say, can we go back? I think you were about to talk about him, to Nealon Youngblood.
I was.
So I know, I was hoping we didn't do that because, I know him.
Oh.
You didn't tell me, Amber?
Really?
Me and his daughter Devin went to Hockaday together.
What is Hockaday, Amber, for the people who don't know?
It is an elite preparatory school for girls in Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
That today costs about $30,000 a year?
No, it's way more than that.
It's not.
It's like 40.
Okay, sorry.
Damn.
But yeah, his daughter's a couple of years younger than me, but she's a friend. And I remembered not having any idea who he was. And then when I found out, because you can always tell the black girls they're on scholarship and the black girls not. So I mean, I knew she wasn't there on scholarship, but I think it's very interesting when you're proximate to people like the Youngbloods to realize that there is a certain way that when you are entrenched in capitalism, it necessarily impacts your blackness in the sense that there's a separation, an intentional or a conscious way that you try to separate yourself from like the ways that the world defines blackness in the sense, like all his kids, I think they all go to Stanford, and basically what I'm trying to say is what bothers me about people like him on the list is I feel like they take their money and instead of it being like okay, I'm gonna take my money, I came up in the world, I'm going to now push a narrative that Black people have to exist in the world in a certain way to deserve this. You know what I'm saying?
Respectability? Or are you saying something else?
Yes, I do think it's respectability, but I almost think it's deeper than that. I think it's almost like a ways that they want to mimic whiteness, not just to be respectable Black people, but to almost mimic whiteness in a way. And
But why is he still using his Blackness then? Because this article is clear to let us know that he is a descendant of freed slaves.
Yes.
So that's interesting that you want to distance yourself and mimic whiteness, but also let everybody know that who your family is.
And he says something. Sorry, Amber, go ahead.
I was about to say, if you know them, they come from money, and they will tell you, like, he's not the first person in their family to have money. Like, they, you know.
He has an interesting spin. If I could just play this quick, just a segment of this here. He has an interesting spin on the John Hope Bryant approach as he's answering a question. And I also thought this was interesting because you get to see when you watch this how the white men that Forbes uses to interview these Black spokespeople are really interesting in their attempt to engage the Black affect and you know, the real ones of Atlanta know, and all this kind of discussion, and the way they talk about these folks and the way they seem to preen over their Black mascots is really, again, but just check. I want to see if you all hear the way I heard what he says here as he's answering a question about his background and his anarchist friends from college.
So anarchist, communist, left, right, hated the United States. And I thought everybody, you know, loved America. But we come to find out the CIA had overthrown the government of Greece. Supposedly, my friends all were protesting against America, but we're all trying to get a green card to get to America.
Sorry, he was talking about in the context of him having gone to Greece as a I think even a high school student, but he doesn't specify how that happened. But that's the context. But hold on a second.
And so that gave me insight into the immigrant mentality, and that if you're coming over on boat from Vietnam, potato famine in Ireland, pogroms in Russia, you get to the U.S., things are challenging, tough, but you have a frame of reference to say, yeah, but it could be so much worse. And for many Black folks, because of his slavery, we don't have that frame of reference. That motivated me. I came back, finished high school, went to Princeton, studied international systems of healthcare in Sweden and England as part.
So
Slavery's
I don't know
not that frame of reference. I'm sorry.
Exactly. So that's so when you read, as you pointed out, Erica, in his bio, where they want you to know he's the descendant of slaves who still made it, he's here telling everyone the experience of slavery holds Black people back.
Because we don't know it could be worse. Because we ain't never been nowhere.
That it could be worse.
We ain't never been nowhere.
Crazy.
Not because there are continuing legacies of enslavement that hold Black people back. It's because we lost through that process that it could be worse. We lost the immigrant appreciation. I said, "Damn, son." But you know, but this is the guy that's interviewing him. Like, he comes in here with his little hat, and he's
a jazz
got,
man.
You know what I'm saying? He's got this whole. This was their whole approach on that stage where, you know, he's like, let me, and him and the other white guy were like with 50-year-old white guy, and he's again literally trying to use the slang of Atlanta rappers as he's interviewing these folks, talking about, you know, again, the real ones of Atlanta know what Atlanta really is, and this, that, and the third. And while he's inviting them to all say how much they're happy to have received money from some white guy. Some white man gave them money.
There's a whole story behind Youngblood, and I know, Erica, you had a hard stop, so I don't. Right. Know,
I'm giving y'all the church finger. I'm gonna say thank y'all.
Thank you, Erica, future Dr. Brown.
Thank you. It was so good to see you.
You too.
Right on. Take care.
Bye, boo.
Amber, you're gonna be able to stay?
Yeah, I got 15 more minutes.
Okay. Cool,
okay.
Cool.
All right.
But I just wanted, so about Youngblood, something that I found interesting in my little diggings around is they mention here this lawsuit that he has going. against
where he sued ConocoPhillips. Yeah.
No, he is suing.
Oh, it says here he sued them for 900 million. That's still going on. Okay.
It is currently in the works. And it is a fight over a land that, according to Mr. Youngblood, was owned by his freed slave ancestors. There's another white family who they are saying that their ancestors purchased the land free and clear, and that the land belongs to them, and it is an ongoing battle. But it's interesting when you look at his whole, he went to Princeton and then he went to law school, and if you start out, if your legacy includes freed slaves who were able to buy 15 acres of land in Texas.
Wow.
Right. There's a lot more there. Right. And again, back to this idea of this list highlighting these things and making it seem as though, look, he was the descendant of slaves and look at where he got to do, right? And skipping over all of the relevant pieces that happened between then and now that changed his particular situation, because it's just not that simple.
And also, you have it highlighted, so I suspected you were going to talk about it, Jared, but this whole idea of middle market healthcare companies.
Yeah.
I also just want to talk about the fact that what they're really talking about here is a particularly violent form of capitalism, whereby Youngblood gets investors to go in and essentially flip hospitals like houses, like hospitals that are not just in middle market, but they're in a lot of times Black communities. They are hospitals that are poor performing. They are hospitals that are risk management pits. And they go into the area as part of larger targeted efforts that they know are coming in terms of gentrification. And they buy those for-profit hospitals for pennies on the dollars. They leverage the debt that a lot of times a lot of Black people owe in those hospitals and owe to those healthcare systems. They sell that off, but they know that the white people are coming and that they are able to then create healthcare systems in those areas to service the gentrifiers that are coming. And they basically flip the hospitals and sell them for profit after they do that. And so I think it's really easy to give somebody a clap when you say, oh, they invest in middle market healthcare. But when you talk about what they actually do, it's much deeper than that.
No, thank you for that.
So
Amber.
another company doing things that are not actually beneficial for them.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and this is why I thought I wanted to show his team. I mean, this is, again, and if you look up a lot of these folks, groups and teams, this is what it looks like. You got the Black man or woman at the top, and then a whole lot of other folks involved before you may get to one other Black face. So the idea that they're even, because, and okay, two things quickly to collapse a couple points. Amber, one, I highlighted that for a different reason. I didn't even know all of that. So I really appreciate what you just broke down there. What I had highlighted it for is that if you look through the entire list, everybody is situated in one of the handfuls of industries that you always find Black people in, and they're always at the lower ends of the economy. They're not, as your point, they're not the owners of means of production. They're not manufacturing. They're all doing this other kind of fintech, healthcare, entertainment, that kind of thing. And then this right here that his investment group is just to flip hospitals is crazy. I didn't even get that far with it. So that's,
yeah, they chase gentrification. That's exactly what they do.
Oh,
that's
wow.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's very wild. So no, I hadn't even gotten that far with it. I was just marveling at how everybody is just in these same industries.
But when you look at the list overall at the start, they talk about, like one of the things that they want to do, which is to bring more information out to people, and they pick 3 industries. And the reason they picked these 3 industries is because these are the 3 industries where the majority of the list exists: real estate, sustainability, and investing. Like those are the 3. Like everybody is in that, just about everybody is within that realm. But go ahead, Jared.
No, the other thing, I forgot, that was the other point I wanted to bring up when Amber was making her points there, was that when you look up this, who they all seem to hire when they are running some or another, and they have all these white folks and other folks in there, I think it's interesting because when you, and I'll put all the links if folks really want to see it, but when you pull up the event, the 2024 ForbesBLK, the event that went along with this list, basically, and you see the interviews that I was just playing a clip from. One of the other interviews done, they make the point about how important it is for Black people to get not only into entrepreneurialism and business, but to move from the solopreneur situation to being able to hire. And that these gatherings are essential for helping Black businesses get to the next stage where they can actually hire and scale and do all these other things. But let me just look at my, because with the claim that even higher, and they reference a Brookings Institute study that I couldn't find to see how they made this claim, but that says that apparently says any company that hires even any one person adds $450 billion to the economy. So they're promoting this as we want to, we meaning the white capital investment community, want to help Black people get to the point where they can hire someone, but we want to do that because whenever you hire someone, it improves the overall economy, which is again only beneficial mostly to the people that own it. So everything is being done here to boost their own status and not to do anything of closing gaps and changing and reversing historical wrongs. And none of that is involved with it. And all of these Black people become spokespeople for this kind of mythology and messaging and propaganda. And when it's all done to benefit those who own the economy, that was the yeah. So then it's like they're getting to the point where they can hire people and they're not hiring Black people,
right?
As if that would solve anything, but just still, So,
Amber, did you have anybody that was standing out for you? Because we got a whole list, and I want to make sure that if you had anybody you wanted to talk about, we got to it before you had to go.
No, that was it for me.
All right.
So something I found interesting, Jared, and I don't know if you noticed that there were a few people on the list who worked for Obama.
You know what? That didn't stand out. Yeah.
So
right here. Here's one right here.
You have one there, Mr. Smith, and his 2% solution, whatever that's going to be. But you also have Melissa Bradley, who is at the top of the list. And Melissa was a regulator for Black banks under.
Oh, wow. That's right. I did see that. That's right.
And so we all know that banking really had a boom during Obama's, time in the administration. And so I thought that was an interesting, a person, me with all of my research on all these connections to the Democrats and so forth and so on. So, Melissa Bradley being on the list and her tie to Obama, and then Michael Smith also having a tie to Obama. What I did find interesting, and I bring up Obama only because the audacity to have somebody on this list who was part of the banking process under Obama, with everything that happened under Obama with regards to banks, is literally like fuck y'all. We just gonna put who we want on this list, and we're not gonna pay no attention to any effect at all that they possibly could have had in these communities that we're trying to sell you this is who you need to emulate and this is who you need to be like. So essentially you have these people on the list, and what Forbes is telling us is, you can shit on your people, right? You can participate in all of these processes that are actually detrimental to the Black community, but Forbes is going to put you on their list as a person who, has an impact and who has wealth and who, bootstrap, because she also in one of her stories talks about bootstrapping and pulling herself up. I hate that term, by the way, because you literally cannot pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So, but that she was part of the banking system under Obama, really, it blew my mind that this was on the list.
But that can't surprise you. I was just gonna say, because they put Dr. Dre on the list and he beats the shit out of Black women. So
Fact.
Once I saw that, quite frankly, I was like, oh, I know everything I need to know about this list. So
just quickly, not stay on that point, but just quick, I did try to look up Melissa Bradley and what her work claims to do. 1863 Ventures is currently rebranding and becoming, I forgot the new name, and doesn't have a lot of information up. So it's again,
but she's supposed to be helping Black women who want to be entrepreneurs. That's
unlocking $100 billion in wealth by 2030, which is, but if you ask, I was kind of like, well, how do you claim to plan to do this? And I wasn't able to find. Again, I'm not claiming to be doing Renee level deep dives. I'm just saying, if I take a few minutes to click around your website and either you have one page, no details on your about page and all that kind of stuff, then I got to move on. But
and where's locked up at? That's what I want to know. Where's locked up? Because
where is it?
What are you talking about? $100 billion of wealth in creation in the Black community. What you talking about? Like, what does that even mean?
It means likely what we see everywhere else on the list. That I'm gonna get some money from white folks, and I'm gonna promise some stuff for some Black folks, and it's not gonna do nothing, and I'm gonna be on this list next.
There's your girl, your slutty vegan girl.
What can I say? I had one meal down there in Atlanta, but apparently at the other the what is it, the side, like the more. It's like she's got slutty vegan and then the other thing. But whatever.
Food trucks, I know about that.
There's a bar one.
It's the bar one.
There's a bar one that we went to. Yeah, there's a bar one that she's opening in Baltimore too.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah. So
since we're go to Dr. Dre. No. We gotta do it.
The very quick version for me was when I saw him. I did think of course, Amber's point. But again, to me, this is just a perfect example of what he and Oprah and all the other ones on here to do. He is the quintessential. I'm delivering Black cultural production to white ownership for white consumption. And so whether it was NWA, whether it's the Beats, whether it's whatever he's doing now, it's all of that. And that is his reward for beating up Black women and producing a lot of nonsense. So, and then teaming up with it was Jimmy Iovine,
it was the Apple deal.
So and Jimmy Iovine, he's if there's a hierarchy, he's probably not as bad as Lee or Cohen, but he's no John Brown of the music industry either. So and that's how Dre is now worth $850 million. This is the reward for that, and the promise that other Black folks can come out of the hood of Compton and anywhere else and do the same. So.
And I'm
congratulations.
And I got a tiptoe out. I think one of the most insidious lies that capitalism tells us is that there is a morality associated with wealth and a immorality associated with poverty. And so we see people, and it is just always so fascinating to me how quickly we forget their unrepentant indiscretions, because they ain't none of us perfect. So I ain't talking, but just because they
Amber,
make
hold on.
money.
Your internet's not perfect at the moment, unfortunately.
Oh,
So
okay.
I want to this great point you're making is kind of getting jumbled up here. But I don't know. You started talking bad about capitalism, and the internet started locking up on you. So
no, can you hear me now?
Not really. You're frozen. Your image is frozen, and now your sound.
Oh, okay.
You sound like you're in a fishbowl.
Well, I'm going to tip something anyway. It's a snowstorm here, so I don't know if there's wrong with my internet or what's going on.
Well, either way, Amber, thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to link up with you and the Brokeish crew.
This was exactly what I wanted. I'm so happy that you all were able to make it. So thank you.
So hopefully we'll have another collab with her, and hopefully she'll hear all those kind words when she watches the show.
Right? She had to drop.
Because I think that she didn't hear any of that, but that's all right. So
wait, so there's more though. There's
yeah. There's more. I'm
there's actually just so much. So she's also on my list. This person here,
Desunda Brown Duckett,
who works for TIAA CREF. So we got another financial person, right? But she came up working for Fannie Mae and Chase.
Fannie Mae, Chase. She's, and she's in charge of my retirement package. And she's so Desunda, you the reason I'm told I gotta keep my job till I'm 67 years old, 20 to life. So I blame so you the one, and she's younger than me. How are you gonna be younger than me demanding that I work forever while you oversee the management of $1.3 trillion?
Right. Right.
And
I just love how on this list they highlight her father was a driver for Xerox and her mother was a teacher.
Right.
Like this outlining of look, they grew up in the struggle and they made it out without ever explaining the other things, right? Like that is problematic for me. That is part of what this process is for this list.
And this was my other nemesis right here. And in fact, I went back and quickly found something that I thought it would be worth rereading here.
Go for it.
Because oh man, I hate when that happens. I do intend to have things set up. But when so let me stop sharing this. I am shamelessly, this isn't really a plug, but it is a shameless, again, reference to I Mix What I Like, a Mixtape Manifesto, and my chapter 9 on radio here. But I was in the audience in 2007 at Morgan State when Kathy Hughes was the commencement speaker and said Radio 1 is Black power. That's a direct quote. So this is again why this is what gets me so upset. It's that, to what we were talking about earlier, it's not bad enough that you went out here and just made all this money. And in this case, you made all this money through, performing and benefiting from and carrying on the colonial function of radio and all of that. And I'm going to come back to that point in a second. But you then come before Black young audiences and Black communities and tell them that your Radio 1 empire is Black power, which is, again, as we've been talking about throughout this whole show, this is you getting white capital, white advertising revenue, white payola from record companies to destroy news, to promote playlists and misogynist, but homogenized music and anti-Black music and culture and all of this stuff, and then promote that as the revolution. That is just is diabolical, as Skip Coon says. So, but the part I thought I would just share again is as I said here, a Glenn Ford quote where I quote him at length, the late great Glenn Ford, in talking about Cathy Hughes' role in destroying in this case specifically, local reporting, Black newsrooms in Black radio and in Black communities, and doing everything that all the other white-owned chains do, which is just pipe in national news that has no connection, no investigative reporting, nothing from the community. But as Glenn said here, Black Washington's dominant radio influence is Radio 1. This was written in 2011. The 66 station chain founded by Cathy Liggins Hughes, valued at $2 billion. Hughes employs not a single news person at her 4 Washington stations, a corporate policy reflected in most of the 22 cities in which Radio 1 operates. The queen of Black broadcasting is Radio 1 with well over 60 stations, and her dictum is let them eat talk. And his point was, let them have talk radio. We'll get all these fake celebrities and spokespeople. We'll give them talk shows. This is before the era of podcasting. And by now, this problem is even worse. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody has a well-platformed, supported, sponsored platform to do the same exact thing. No investigative news, no original music and content, no connection to local communities. And then I go through and show how in her Baltimore station, then I was working with a grad student, we caught her program director lying about payola and taking and not, claiming to not take payola, claiming to not conform to the playlist mentality and to be willing to broadcast news, as he says, especially when something important like Anna Nicole's death occurs. These are the people. So, and then again, and I'll put it in the show description, if folks want to go back and hear Glenn Ford on a panel with Dr. Todd Stephen Burrows talking about with a former Radio 1 executive, and you can hear even me a little bit at the end getting into an argument with these Radio 1 folks, because they're in there, they're in there telling communities, we're here for you. And then while blaming Black youth for listening to that horrible rap music and ruining the Black that they're playing, and then performing as the people that, they're saying all this, and meanwhile they're walking off with billions of dollars, getting in Forbes magazine, claiming to be Black power. I mean, it was so again, when I saw her on the list, I was like, yeah, if at least it'll just be a good excuse to talk, bring back Glenn Ford to the discussion, because Glenn was brilliant as always in not only his analysis, but in condemning people like specifically Cathy Hughes. So,
and they all need to be condemned. I'm over it. Like I'm over some of these, this whole list for me, even down to the people, there's a list of athletes on here, right? So you have Jordan, LeBron, Johnson, LeBron, Westbrook, Serena Williams. So you have all these athletes, Tiger Woods, right? And they're all on there. And when you really read it, the majority of their money came from sponsorships.
Yep.
Right? So what you were able to do was capitalize off of your athletic abilities in your youth, and you parlayed that into making a lot of money from companies that are almost all white owned, right? Like not almost all, probably all white owned, and utilized then to turn around and tell people the reason Black people are poor is because you're spending too much money on Nikes. Meanwhile, Michael Jordan is able to capitalize off of his Nike. Like, do you see?
Yeah.
You see the connection? Like, it's wild, right?
And to the point made earlier, Shaquille then turns around and uses the fact that he owns movie theaters, and including in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia, to not allow the screening of Long Distance Revolutionary about Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Right.
So to not only to pretend to be the representation of Black success and advance, but to stand against Black liberatory content and messaging and history. So
right. I mean, it's the whole thing is like, okay. And then I was mad Tiger Woods was even on the list because he spent all his life saying, like, stop talking about me being black. That's not all black. I am. You know, he had his whole thing. So I don't.
Yeah.
So someone else that I found interesting. Do you have a list of people? Are we catching your list as we go?
Oh yeah. I just have my stuff highlighted on the ones that I wanted to mention, but to talk about.
So can we go to Ken Chenault?
Sure.
C8.
Yep.
So I don't know if you'll remember this name because when I read it, I was like, I know this name. Why do I know
I do
this
remember
name?
the name, but probably not the details. Right. Yeah. I highlighted that he's the first and only black CEO at American Express. Congratulations.
American Express. So the reason the name might have sounded familiar to you is because we did a whole conversation about the black entrepreneurs and business people that supported Kamala Harris.
Oh, wow. Right.
And he spoke at the DNC and he signed that open letter saying that she was going to be the best person for the job. And he was the founder of the feast in Long Island for that meeting back when they brought Senator Harris along with Senator Booker to meet with all the rich blacks so that they could talk about starting a PAC.
Oh man.
Man, how my rabbit holes be circling back. I was like, this name, I know this name.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but again, well, that makes perfect sense. What else would he have been advocating? And I'm sure he would have done quite, although I can't imagine he's going to do poorly under Trump.
No. All these people are they're going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine. I saw you stopped on your boy Tyler.
Well, I mean, again, there's nothing really new other than it's the Tyler Perrys, and the Oprahs, the Kathy Hugheses. These folks, in the cultural realm have and Jay-Z, Beyonce, Sheila Johnson from BET, and all of this is always misreported because they always leave out that it was Robert Malone that put up 500,000 to Robert Johnson's 15,000 to launch BET. So this idea that it was sold in 2001 belies the fact that it was already a white really economically foundational. And then again, really the point is to understand the commercial media environment in this country is to understand that it doesn't matter who the owner is. What matters are who the advertisers and the investors. So you can be as black as you want. If you can be as radical as you want. If you want advertisers, if you want to be commercially successful, if you want anybody to see your product, you have to do what these folks do. So this is not to say I'm justifying them or excusing them. I'm simply pointing out that there is no exception to this. So there is no, it's the system must be destroyed if we are to expect people to behave differently within it. There is no going into it, and you're not going to create a BET and then have that become the foundation of a black revolution. And I saw,
speaking of BET, I saw an interesting reel, and it didn't occur to me that we were going to go down this path, or I would have tried to remember to put it down somewhere. But there was a creator who was talking about, he wrote a show for BET. And wait, go back to her because there's something else I need to point out about Ms. Johnson. And that BET basically went to him and was like, your show is too complicated. You need to dumb your show down. This is BET. So for all of people's excitement about BET and Black entertainment television and all these things, what is it actually doing to improve the material conditions of Black people? Nothing. Right? Literally nothing. And I just wanted to
listen, while you say that, keep going. I got to take one quick I got to step out for 1 second, but keep
No
going.
worries.
I'm listening. I'm
So
listening.
I just want to point out to folks that Miss Johnson is also the founder of the hospitality firm, the Salamander Collection. And in this little, write-up, it talks about, the resorts that she owns and runs in DC, Charleston, and Jamaica. And it stood out to me because it said it didn't list all the places where they have, like locations, but Jamaica specifically the people in Jamaica are completely hindered by the hospitality industry. Like whenever you go to these places and you have a place like a Salamander Collection, that means you have a resort that is on the island that is only open to people who are traveling to the island. You have people fighting over those jobs and really like, they're at the behest of whoever has decided to travel to the island, right? So you can't be a Jamaican and walk on those beaches, right? You're not allowed. You have to be part of, visiting the resort. You can only, as a Jamaican, be working at the resort in order to be on location. So I want to point out that she is yet one more person on this list who some of her wealth is being bolstered by literally treating Black people like shit.
So first of all, that's a good point. And again, I know there's been others and, more to it, but I do remember the Life in Debt documentary that talks about how bad the tourism industry is for Jamaican people. And you can see it. Anytime anybody spends any time anywhere that depends, or even the interview I did, what was the brother's name from Hawaii who was saying, don't come here.
Right.
Don't do the tourism. It doesn't help. It doesn't, but so I can see that, because I saw that when I saw this here, that what she's doing is it's taking advantage of the Black bourgeoisie who travel and helping provide for them. It even says on the website here, it's luxury management. So you want the like,
yeah, like this is where you go and you get like your private chef and your butler and you're taken care of from start to finish, right? But it takes other people to do that work, and I'm not to be
and it's not benefiting them.
It's not benefiting them at all. No, and that's exactly what my point was about to be, is like, these are not places where, you have regular working people who are making like a real living wage doing this work, right? They're relying probably on the tips that are going to come from these really rich people who are able to do this travel.
Where is, a couple, I'm not even going to say their name. I'm not going to embarrass them like that. But I met up with somebody who's fairly well respected in some of these streets and was invited to DC to stay somewhere that looks like this. And I went to meet up with them, and I have to look, I was born in DC. I've spent a lot of my social and political life in DC, but it's not a huge city, but there are parts of the city like that I never see, that I've never,
right. And
so
why?
I was walking around there.
You?
He said, do you know a good spot around here to eat? And I was like, no. I said, I'm never around here. I said, I'm here to see you, my man. I was like, I don't know nothing around. I felt uncomfortable. I always feel like I get imposter syndrome. I went in I was like, I had to wait for him in his lobby or some spot. I was like, I know that somebody's about to come in here and ask me to leave. I was like, they know I don't belong here.
It's crazy. Right.
So,
and you're right. For as small of a city as DC is, there are plenty of pockets of places like that. Like I used to, I lived down in Maryland for like, in that whole area. I was down there for almost 11 years. And so I spent a lot of time in DC, doing the party thing. And, I had all my hot spots, but they were all in the hood. Like, and then they opened that big place that had like the 7 floors and you could go, from floor to floor, depending on what type of music you wanted to listen to. And I'm blanking on the name of it. I might have to text somebody.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was the spot. That was the spot in the early 2000s. It had multiple floors, and the reggae room was in the basement, and it was the spot.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
but anywho, so the other people on the list that I found very interesting was Melody Hobson and John Rogers. And they're on obviously two different ends, but the reason that I mentioned them together is because they both work for the same investment firm, this Ariel Investments. The reason they stood out with this Ariel Investments is because it doesn't mention it under her name, but if you go down to Mr. Rogers and talks about Ariel Investments, and it mentions Project Black.
Oh,
and
wow.
So, you know me, I was like, well, what's this Project Black about?
Project
right?
Black.
So,
the Greenwood Prosperous. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you know what? I think I missed this for some reason. I skipped over him. Okay.
Right. So he also works for Ariel Investments, and they started this Project Black that, was supposed to be, to help, close the wealth gap. And so I was just curious about Project Black and what it was about. And so I looked it up. And Project Black is supposed to be something that helps minority owned businesses, right? So, right. Yeah.
1.4 billion. One with partners and co-investors. Lowe's, Walmart, Merck. Wow. JP Morgan. Yeah, this is again, this is what I'm saying. This is Black power done by white capital.
Right. Right. But the best part is I found a letter, and I should have probably. Wow. So there's a whole thing that was written up by Melody Hobson, and this was in 2021, and it talks about this Project Black, and she mentions Mr. Rogers, right? And she talks about the importance of having these investment opportunities because Black and brown people are not able to close the gap the way it needs to be closed, and yada yada yada. But then as you really start to read it, you note that they say things like, some of these companies may not be minority owned.
Oh, wow. Oh, really? These Black companies in Project Black might not be Black?
Might not be Black. But also, and this is something I wish I could remember what you were doing on your show, because I miss Monday mornings often, because Monday mornings be rough up in my house. But I caught a live stream that you did one time, and I was like, I just want to make sure we point out that being minority owned does not mean it is a Black company, right? You just need one person with a little bit of color to have 51% of ownership.
Right. Yeah.
And then you can call yourself Black owned. Right. And so, we always need to keep those things in mind, that when you have these companies that are talking about, how they're going to change the world for Black businesses, it's important to recognize, the reality of of what they really mean, because it really doesn't have anything to do with helping Black people and helping Black communities, right? The whole goal, really and truly, in the end, is for them to make more money. Right? Yeah. That in the end, that's really all it's about. How do we find a way to make sure that we as a group make more money, and we can do this in part by pretending that we're doing something that's actually going to help Black people in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so I was trying to look for it. I'm not really clear what. So Project Black is just going to claim to invest 1.4 billion in companies that may have a Black employee somewhere tucked in
Look,
somewhere.
Let me see if I can send. Let me, because I'm on two different computers. Let me see if I can, and I'll share the link, and then folks, can read it for themselves and see what they take out of it, because I was really, there it is, in trying to figure out like what this project was really about, because I was curious. I was like, are they actually going to help real Black people? Like, is that really going to be the purpose of what they're doing? And of course, that's just not right. Like, they go into all the time, like the numbers, 2% of employers are Black.
Project Black is Ariel Alternative's first private equity initiative. The innovative effort will invest in middle market companies that may or may not currently be minority owned, transforming these into certified minority-owned enterprises of scale and forging a new class of Black and Latinx entrepreneurs. So what are they saying? We'll invest in your company if you hire some Black and brown people?
I guess,
so that we can transform you into a certified minority-owned business?
Right. So then we'll help you pretend like you're a Black business so that you can make more money as being a Black business, I guess. And if you scroll down to the house section,
would it be even as bad as them saying if you add one of our Black reps as an employee as part of our contract, or if you take investment from us and we have Black ownership or employment, does that make our investment in you make you a Black company? Dang, I don't know.
Maybe. So the second paragraph in the house section starts with Project Black plans to invest in standalone companies and corporate divisions in a middle market with 100 million to 1 billion in revenue.
Wow.
Who are these companies?
Well, that's why it said earlier, Renee, they don't have to really be Black, because how many yeah, how many Black standalone companies are worth $100 million or do 100 million in revenue, I should say. It's not even worth 100, but doing 100 million in revenue. Who's doing that?
Right.
Let me just, how many Black owned companies let me just see if Google tells me this in revenue. I just wonder if that's even calculated. Well, Google's AI says, according to available data, only a very small number of Black-owned companies generate 100 million.
So you don't even get a number.
You don't even get a number. It just says a very small number. We don't even. Yeah, I was just looking at one other thing here. No, there's nothing that is giving me the immediate answer other than just a few. There's only a small.
Right. So the other interesting thing about this Project Black, and I'm sorry to drag y'all down my rabbit hole, but I was just because I started really like, what is this? So they listed the people who were going to be like executing this process of investing, and they list two people, a Richard Powell and a Franz Alphonse. And I didn't know if you would recognize the name Richard Powell, because apparently he played soccer in the Olympics.
I didn't. And where is he listed?
In that, no, he's not on the list. He's part of this Project Black thing.
No, the Powell,
from Ariel
I don't recognize Powell. No.
So you said it was just one of those things that kind of stood out for me. But they had, all these people who were part of the process, and you know, John Rogers, who is on this list, is on there, but it's just a mess. It's just a mess. It really is just a mess.
I did look up because, you know, remember we you know, Robert Smith, who was allegedly going to pay off students, black students, colleges.
Yes. Yes. Did he do that? Do we know?
I never saw that he said it's announced, but I never saw that it actually happened. So I'd have to, I'm suspicious that it would not have happened, but, you know, or there was some loophole somewhere in there. But and
I was curious about his 2% solution, which I was like, what is this?
Yeah, I'm not, you know what? Let's see if they say something quickly here about it. Oh no, you have to subscribe. Sorry, I don't know.
So, well, they want people, his plan is that every big billionaire business should be giving 2% of their profits to help black businesses. But you know, you just have to question, to like, is that?
Yeah, like, and first of all, what would it do if it, you know, what does that actually mean? Because it sounds, again, kind of like what it's like another version of Rainbow Push Coalition from Jesse Jackson. We're going to basically, you know, hire some black people, invest in, you know, hire some black businesses at the down the line of your chain to do some work, or we'll you know, we might protest you or something like that.
And so, but what he specifically, and I just had a note on it, was that they were to, you know, this investment was going to go into banking, telecom, technology.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's not going to go into, you know, actually improving material conditions. It's going to go into all the businesses that are sucking black people dry now.
Hey, wait a minute. Sorry, just to be fair, AI from Google is telling me that Robert Smith did pay off the 2019 Morehouse College a gift totaling $34 million.
Oh, that's not even a lot of money.
So, yeah. So, yeah, there it is.
And I just want to state for the record, like, not for nothing, you know, Morehouse, shout out, whatever people want to get excited about, but there's a certain class of black people that goes to Morehouse, right? Mm-hmm. And Morehouse is not giving away a whole lot of money in scholarship money, right?
Hey, my oldest got into Spelman, and we couldn't afford it,
right? And if you're
the little offer they offered us $5,000.
See, that's wild.
It was like that's,
and it's not cheap, but if his student 30... loan, like if what he paid back.
No, it was 50. Sorry, Spelman was 50.
Right.
He want 50 a year.
So if he said he was going to pay people's student loans, right? Here's my guess. And I'm listening, y'all, just remember two things. One, this is pre-recorded. So I could find out between now and when this runs that I'm wrong, if I have time to look it up. But this is my guess on this. So I'm willing to bet money that he is paying for the federally given student loans, right? Morehouse is not a big school. It's not that, you know, it's not a huge school. So your graduating class is not, we're not talking about a lot of people. So when you subtract all the people that didn't take out loans because they're in a different class of black person, they can afford to just pay for Morehouse, right? And then when you go into who got the federally funded loans, you're talking about $5,500 a year, because that's the max. There's a cap, right? So that's $22,000 per student. So that's why, like, he can say, oh yeah, I'll give this, right? Because if, you know, in the end, it's not going to cost, like, maybe he paid for more than the federal loans, because 34 million sounds like a lot. I'm curious, like, what?
First of all, one thing I'm just now reminded, we I think on EYL at one point we talked about this, because he wait a minute. He also had a tax fraud issue where he went to court and snitched on one of his white benefactors. And that detail I don't remember, but this is from The Hill in 2020. Robert Smith, the billionaire who went viral last year for paying off the debt of students in Morehouse College, admitted to an illegal scheme to conceal income and evade taxes by using offshore trusts and bank accounts for 15 years. The billionaire will also pay back $139 million in taxes and penalties, and he agreed to abandon $182 million in charitable contribution deductions. He entered a non-prosecution agreement, and if I remember correctly, that involved him snitching on somebody that had previously been one of his benefactors. Smith also admitted to using the Excelsior Trust and Flash holdings in their foreign accounts in the British Virgin Islands and Switzerland to hide income earned and distributed to Flash holdings from private equity funds. The billionaire who lives in Austin, Texas, did not report over $200 million of the partnership income as a result of the scheme. He further admitted to using $2.5 million of the unreported income to purchase a vacation home in Sonoma, California. He also used $13 million in unreported money to make improvements on his residence in Colorado. That was it. This is it. Smith's case is connected to another billionaire, Robert Brockman, who on Thursday was charged with hiding $2 billion in income from the IRS. And Smith testified against Brockman, and Brockman had previously funded Smith, something like that. Allegedly, check me on that, but that's what I remember. There was something funky like that.
Oh, so, I see. I feel a lot better about my guess, by the way. You see that? He previously donated $34 million in September to pay off the student loans and set up a foundation to aid students struggling with loans in the future. So that $34 million did not go in total to the graduating students. It also went to set up another fund.
I mean, yeah. And then who knows what else was being done? I mean, was that also an attempt to hide taxes or to, people do philanthropy to whatever? But again, so my thing would still be great. You wiped out 1 year of graduating debt. But I would have preferred, no disrespect to the people who got their debt wiped out, especially since I did get mine wiped out.
Me too.
So, so amen to that. But I would be more impressed if he said, I'm gonna give them $34 million and then I'm gonna put up another $34 million to launch, to fund an actual campaign to get rid of student debt entirely. So we're going to do a $34 million, I don't know. If he had done something like that, I would be more impressed. In other words, do something that targets the structural problems as opposed to helping a few people and then using that to exacerbate the suffering of everybody else through largely, as we've been talking about here, promoting this idea that you could be like me and billionaires are good because we might pay off your student debt, once for one group.
Right.
Right. Like if you graduated from Morehouse in 2018, you'd probably be like, damn, bro.
Mad as hell.
Or 2020, you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I missed it. The one window to get a free college. Yeah, you might be like, yeah, but he, maybe he can't do it anymore because he got to pay back all this other money that these cats are all into some shadiness.
Oh, listen. All right. So here's another one. And I feel like this one I noted specifically for you. So Tom McDonald.
Oh, is he on this existing list?
He's on the Forbes list.
Yeah,
yes, he is on the Forbes list.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom McDonald is part of a banking group, and they are touted as the largest Black-owned bank. So,
hold on. Let me I don't know what's going on. Why that didn't work.
There you go. Oh, just lost him.
There it is. Todd McDonald.
There it is. So the father started the bank, and
Mm-hmm.
now they have the largest bank, and there's all these articles about the bank, having the largest holdings of any Black bank. It's like, I guess it broke some kind of like historical record or whatever have you. So, I started digging around, as I do often, and because I was like, well, is it, and this is your fault, is it really a Black owned bank?
Oh.
And so, so you start looking at like where their money come from. And so in 2022, the Claro Group, which I had never heard of, shifted some of its working capital to Liberty Bank. And I suspect that this is this is part of their holdings, right? But Claro is definitely not a Black company. But in the announcement, the Claro Group, right? In the announcement, the chairman of Claro says, "We are excited to follow such firms as Netflix, Twitter, Costco, and others in providing additional resources for Black-owned and Black-run banks to help rejuvenate the communities they serve." So again, right? So you have this father-son team from New Orleans. Let's not even go there about New Orleans and what all that means, right? Mm-hmm. Who are, the owners of this Black-owned bank, but their holdings that make them a quote unquote, richest Black bank are all with white companies. I'm sorry to laugh, y'all.
But again, and this is the part I forgot when they were on I remember when I was trying to struggle to remember something, I didn't remember the point I wanted to make when Amber and Erica were on, which was that in their more recent episode of Brokeish, where they went over with Professor Justine Hill Edwards, the history of Freedmen's Bank and banking, Black banking. I mean, they again expose the fallacy that Black-owned banks or banking Black can help Black people overcome their inequality. Banks don't exist to create wealth for poor people. That's not what they do. So the idea that, and again, I keep bringing up my own interaction with the head of Industrial Bank here in DC some years ago. He either did not understand how banking and capitalism actually in the economy works, or he was willfully ignorant in defense of his position. But the point being, they're not here to produce, they can't produce wealth. So even if this Todd McDonald wanted to be a revolutionary, he can't. Right. Through that institution. So it again just
right.
Perpetuates some more of that nonsense about
more nonsense. It's just more and more.
What did
nonsense.
Bryant say? How capitalism can help Black people? What did he say? What was his language?
I don't know.
Some nonsense.
I try to put him out of my brain, to be honest. I'm so sick of all these people.
That helps capitalism work for underserved communities. That was the line. That's what he's saying. So yeah. But listen. Yeah. I know Warrior Class is back this week, so we definitely got to be on schedule here. So,
and in all fairness, they have people. There's like 3 people on the list that aren't fetching capitalists. There's the dude who used to work for Princeton Review, who started another tutoring company. There's the guy who worked for the Human Rights thing, who now runs the Global Black Economic Forum, which I gotta say was real questionable, but they claim that their goal is to give money to people who are really trying to do social justice work. I did not have time to dig deep to see if that's really what they do. And there was one architect on the list.
But it's to your point that you made earlier.
But the architect is building banks, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the point. I mean, even if they want or think that they're doing something good, that they would lend themselves to appear in this way, it belies any claim that they're here to help anybody. And so I think you were right on that. But and again, my point isn't to say that any of these people, again, these are not the enemies. These are not, I mean, this isn't for me, at least, I don't, you know, it's just to point out that they're playing a complicit role in carrying on all of this, and they're, if not condemned, they're definitely not to be honored and praised.
Right.
That would be.
And anybody who shows up on a Forbes list, like, not for nothing, if you show up on a Forbes list, there's definitely some side eye that you are earning. And if you're on a list with John Hope Bryant, you you deserve every bit of side eye.
And at minimum, you got to put somewhere in your bio in that blurb, I don't rock with that dude. Like if I know Ball comes before Bryant, you about to read about this dude Bryant down here. I'm not on his team. No, I'm just playing. Like, you would have to, you know. So anyway,
all right, well,
any quick announcements? Anything other than like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon? Click.
We're gonna do. We're gonna do the thing on MLK. We got a space solidified in Orange at the hub. We're gonna move. We're gonna start later in the day. Start around 2 o'clock.
What's the date on this?
That's January 20th. So
boom.
Remember, you're invited. Ntume's coming. Daruba might be in town. Fired up.
Let's go. So Monday the 20th.
Monday the 20th.
So what time is this?
So we're gonna go from 2:30 to 6:30. So that means you don't have to get up super early to get to Jersey.
Oh, I'm gonna be up early. I'm gonna do my show that morning. That's Monday morning, and then I'm gonna get on the road 2:30 to 6:30 and put it on the calendar. Now it's official. So yeah, look forward to that. So folks, stay tuned. You'll be hearing and seeing more about that and more. If you are so inclined, I am going to be doing a Saturday night live tonight. That is Saturday night at 6 p.m. No, you know, old folks night. And then I'll be back Monday morning with a great show featuring Brother Tafari and a bunch of Black radical visual artists. So that's going to be
I saw the thumbnail for that one. That's dope.
Yeah. That's dope. All right, good people. Renee, big shout out to you. Of course, big thanks to the sisters from Brokeish. Please make sure you've caught up with their catalog as well. And hydrate and stretch for warrior classes coming up. And yeah, peace. Only if you're willing to fight for it, as always, as Fred Hampton used to say. We'll catch you next time right here for more Saturday with Renee.